वेलकम टू मेन स्ट्रीम विद हरप्रीत सिंह तूर। आप सबनों प्यार भरी सत श्री अकाल, नमस्कार, आदाब एंड शलोम। जिमें कि पिछली बारी भी मैं गल की सी कि मैनू मेरे नाल गलबात हुई सी ते मैनू कहा गया सीगा सी जी भई इंग्लिश सानू बहुती आउंदी नहीं तो असीं गल किदां करिए। सो मैं उस चीज़ उत्ते एक बारी फिर तुहानूं दस देना चाहुंदा कि जे कोई सवाल हैगा जां कोई सुजैशन हैगा जां कुछ कोई टॉपिक है जिहड़ा तुसीं चाहुंदे हो कि आई शुड डू सम रिसर्च और उहनूं मैं डिस्कस करां, तुसीं हमेशा कॉल कर सकदे हो। पंजाबी, हिंदी, उर्दू, इंग्लिश ऑफ कोर्स, तो यू कैन लैट मी नो। तो ऐसी कोई गल नहीं है, असीं पंजाबी दा जे सवाल होऊगा पंजाबी च जे जवाब चाहुंदे हैं तो पंजाबी च भी जवाब दे सकदे हैं। हिंदी च जवाब चाहुंदे हैं तो हिंदी च भी कोशिश कर सकदे हैं जिन्नी हिंदी आउंदी बेस्ड ऑन दैट। बट द थिंग इज़ कि डोंट हैजिटेट। ईमेल भी है जिहड़ी इहदे उत्ते शो की जाती हैगी है। तुसीं ईमेल दे उत्ते hstoor@gmail.com जो कि स्क्रीन दे उत्ते देख रहे हो, यू कैन ऑलवेज ईमेल मी ऑन दैट। मैं एक सैपरेट ईमेल शो वास्ते क्रिएट करांगा जिहदे वास्ते फिर यू कैन एक्चुअली हैव दैट ईमेल डेडिकेटेड फॉर दिस शो। कोई भी जिहड़ा सवाल है इस शो के उत्ते तुसीं भेजना है उस ईमेल के उत्ते भेज सकते हो। ईवन दा ये मेरी पर्सनल ईमेल हैगी आ फॉर द टाइम बीइंग विच कैन बी यूज्ड फॉर दैट। सब तो पहला तो टर्की दे विच जिहड़ा और सीरिया के बॉर्डर के उत्ते जिहड़ा अर्थक्वेक आया हैगा आ इस वक्त राइट नाउ 7,700 तो वध बंदे आ जिहड़े मर चुके हैं। मोर दैन 7,700 people they have already died in that earthquake which happened actually on the border of Turkey and Syria. And Syria is already undergoing civil war for so many years, and now after the Ukraine war, Syrian war is in nobody's mind at this time. Nobody even thinking about it. It's just like the Yemen, where the civil war has been going on for so long. It's a proxy war between Saudi Arabia and Iran, but basically people, they just don't know, because it doesn't matter to them. It does not have anything to do with their bread and butter, and that's why they're not even talking about it. So with this earthquake in Syria, what is happening is that the supplies which they need at the point where the maximum devastation took place, the damage happened, it cannot be really pushed because of the limitations of infrastructure. The roads are not there because of the war. And then probably they have landmines and all that stuff over there. So in other words, yeah, this is just ridiculous that when we look at the human level, that how these things can affect and how sometimes the larger political picture takes over everything and everything else gets pushed under the carpet. And the reason is because like in Punjabi we call anne bhagt. They just believe in what they want to believe. They refuse to go beyond that. I always talk about this on this show, that how this new technologies and everything has made our life very much like a bubble, and we live within that bubble, and the information is fed into based on what type of bubble you prefer, what type of search you do, and based on that automatically algorithms are such that they start showing up on your smartphones, on your laptops, on your desktops, and ultimately you just get consumed into it. Same thing is with the WhatsApp. You have these groups of WhatsApp where like-minded people, you listen, you don't care about what they are saying, whether it's right or wrong. Facts, they don't matter anymore. It is what the person is saying, and based on that, you just believe it as a fact. And that's, where it reminds me when the previous president, former president Donald Trump, he took the oath. They talked about having the largest crowd on the mall in Washington, D.C., which was not true. But when the discussions happened about it, Kellyanne Conway, who was one of the person on the right hand, as a right-hand person for Donald Trump, the former president, she said alternate facts. What are the alternate facts? Facts are facts are facts. It's only how the facts are presented to you. So that's where the whole thing happens. Now, this devastation which took place at the border of Turkey and Syria, there are organizations out there who are trying to help, and then there are a whole bunch of organizations who are going to make money out of it. It's just like over here, Alex Jones made a ton of money about the shooting in Connecticut, where 27 children and teachers died in that shooting. And the only thing he was interested in was pushing the lies. And all of a sudden, those lies, the people who were actually watching his show, they were just looking at him and whatever he was feeding. And they assumed those are the facts. So what I'm trying to say here is, because there are a few things which I'm going to discuss in today's show regarding that. Same way, the speech, which I always insist, freedom of speech, yes, it is very important. And that is why, if you look at the history of the world, all these people who actually stuck to the freedom of the speech, they ended up paying a very heavy price. Down the road in history, yes, it was written about them, about the things which they did, how good they were, or what it meant. But when they were fighting that false narrative, there were very few people who were standing with them. And those facts are even there today. Even today, you, or if I may say us, as a whole community, we refuse to stand with somebody who will try to put up the facts up front and let the person know, or the persons know, what are the facts. And that's how everything is happening. Elections are happening, libraries, curriculums are being changed in the name of, we are protecting you and your kids. How you can protect you and your kids if you are restricting the freedom of speech, freedom of search, and all those related to it. And that actually also brings me to the Jim Jordan's, who is actually right now as a chairman of one of the committee which is looking into that how the government has been, FBI and CIA, they have been made into a force where they have marginalized the people, or they push the people, or investigation powers are so broad, and blah, blah, blah. Interestingly, he is sending out all these subpoenas to all these people, whereas he did not actually answer to any subpoena which was issued to him, either by J6 committee, the January 6 committee, or by the House, who was doing other investigations and stuff like that. He totally refused. And now he wants everything to be done like yesterday. If I ask for a document that should be presented to me immediately, talk about the hypocrisy. A person, a congressman who refused to certify the current sitting president's election as a elected president is actually investigating him without even mentioning that he himself got elected on the same ballot on which on the top two names were of Donald Trump and Joe Biden. It was the same ballot. And he refused to acknowledge that. Kevin McCarthy, who is the Speaker of the House, yes, he was right on January 6th. He made good statements. He made right statements at that time. But after that, he went to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring of the king so that he can be the speaker. He became a speaker at a very heavy price by giving the rights to certain extreme right elements. So we as a community, we should not be accepting any extreme right or any extreme left. The people who were like defunding the police, I was always against them. And in fact, some of our own people, some Punjabis, they ran for the election based on that. They were actually Democratic Socialists of America. We come from a country, we have seen what socialism is. But they came from there, they refused to talk about that. And this is something, which makes such a big deal. We need to understand that. Let us take a break here and we will continue with the mainstream right after the break. Welcome back to Mainstream, the Harpreet Singh Toor. And like I said, you can email me or you can call us and you can give your opinion, ask questions. It will be really an honor to interact with you in any language, Punjabi, Hindi, Urdu, English, of course. Going forward, we're talking about certain aspects, how the society thinks, how the society works. There is a saying in Punjabi where they say, "Aakh ton le ta dimag ton pare," which means certain things, if you don't see it, you totally forget about it. So, same thing. The other thing which actually happened was Pervez Musharraf, who was the president of Pakistan, who was in exile on self-exile, if, like he said, because he was from Pakistan, definitely with the mutual understanding of the government. He moved, and he passed away yesterday in Dubai. One thing, he first he was the chief of army staff, and then he became the president in the elections. And we should not forget that when Mr. Vajpayee, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he was trying to have some agreement with Pakistan on Kashmir. What happened was, in the back door, there was planning, and Kargil war happened at that time. So, in other words, yes, the army plays a major role in Pakistan's political life, even though it's sort of like detaching itself, but we don't know. I got to give a credit to Indian Army on that part, that Indian Army definitely to a larger extent is not involved in country's politics. And yes, right now, I'm sorry to say, the current rulers in India, the BJP, they are trying to make the armed services also as an extension of their political outreach. One of the reasons I'm saying that is because one of the Muslim person who was supposed to be the chief of army staff, even though his tenure would have been a very short tenure, but he was the candidate to be the chief of the army staff. But he was superseded just because he was a Muslim. and he ended up resigning, and which is, it's a shame. A lot of things are happening which we are not paying attention to. The latest thing which is happening right now, there is a bill being discussed to curb the freedom of speech. From where it bill came from? It actually came from that documentary from BBC. The question is, for me, not what the BBC did, whether it was right or wrong. If it was wrong, then why you are censoring it? Why you are putting the students behind the bars for those who wants to see it? What's wrong in checking the facts? It's like here also, Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor, he literally said that some of the books, if they will be on display, that teachers will be arrested and put behind the bars. And because the teachers were not sure which books to be banned books and left, by the state and removed from the shelves, they just put up the papers on those shelves, white paper, hiding the books. When we talk about freedom, yes, I do understand certain aspects, but at the same time, we need to understand that if we are looking to flourish the humankind properly and fully, that freedom is important, because the more free you are, the more your thinking expands. You go beyond what you think. You really do. Salman Rushdie, there was on his head, there was a price on his head. After he wrote down the book, his first book which I read was Midnight Children. It was excellent book, no doubt about it. And then there was another book which he wrote down. I'm just trying to get the name of that book. Satanic Verses. From Iran, they issued a fatwa, like they say, to kill him. And more than a year ago, he was upstate in New York at one of the university which has gathered regarding some books and talking about it. When he was on the stage, he was attacked by somebody from New Jersey, and he was attacked viciously with a knife. And in that whole thing, he did lose his one eye. And I'm going to show here, this is how he goes now, if you can look at it. He lost one eye. And again, why he lost the eye? Because some people, they even did not read the Satanic Verses. They just decided that, okay, this is against our prophet, or whatever it is. I haven't read the book, to be honest with you. I do have the book, but now I'm planning to definitely read it, why it is so toxic. So one thing which I would like to say here, it's my opinion. Some people may not like it, what I'm going to say, but again, we need to think about something. This is something written on the paper, which gives us the knowledge, okay? Yes, I know when I was growing up, we will not even put our foot on the book or push the book with our foot. If by mistake we touch it, we will immediately go have the do salam and ask for forgiveness. Why? Because it gives us the knowledge. But if a crazy person, a stupid person, or an idiot throws down the book, it doesn't mean the value of that knowledge is decreased. Yes, it is not acceptable that somebody should be playing either with the holy books of Sikhs or Hindus or Muslims or Christians or any holy book. But if somebody is doing, it shows that person either he is mentally sick or stupid. But at the same time, the reaction actually makes it for the other people to do copycat. And that should not be something, which should be acceptable or we should be looking for. And those copycat things are happening, knowingly or unknowingly. Some people do it intentionally, some people, they just happen to do it. So what I'm saying here is, we need to understand how, if we want to have our knowledge increase and have the respect, we cannot expect to be respected if we don't respect the other person. It's a mutual, it's two-way street. It is not one-way street. If you don't respect me, definitely I will not respect you, and vice versa. We may not agree with each other. It doesn't mean that we should be disrespecting. So now going on to, on the same front, what is happening now is Kevin McCarthy, because tonight is Joe Biden's speech in the House, Kevin McCarthy has given instructions to fellow Republicans to not to disrespect the president. I really appreciate it, which is good. There are some offices, the decor of those offices, the status of those offices, they should be maintained. You can differ. Kevin McCarthy and Joe Biden, they don't agree on the new credit limit issues and things like that. There are other issues also. But at the same time, when the president speaks, the due respect should be given. And same way when the person, I think it is Sanders Huckabee, who is going to speak after the presidential speech for rebuttal, she should also be paid due respect. Like I was talking previously, that there were some people who walked into the restaurant and they were told to leave the restaurant because we do not agree with your views and you are not welcome in the restaurant. No, the restaurant is there to serve the food. It should be served. Same way, everything matters. The books are there to read, to give you the knowledge. You don't like it, don't pick it up. But at the same time, the other people should not be blocked, or other people should not be deprived of the knowledge which they want to gain or acquire. That is something which we need to look at. And there is another issue which is brewing up within GOP. Yes, the presidential election, 2024 election is, in, of course, like I said, 2024, but we are in 2023. But election is already happening. So let us take a break. After the break, we'll talk about it. Welcome back to Mainstream with Harpreet Singh Toor. We are talking about, there is so much, sometimes I wonder where to stop and where to begin. But yes, we are talking about what is happening in 2024. On GOP side, former President Donald Trump, he has already announced his candidacy. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, he is muscling his way into it with actually in polls being ahead of former President Donald Trump. And we, on the Democratic side, we have the sitting President Joe Biden. And a lot of polls coming out, they are saying, suggesting he should run, he should not run. Majority are saying he should not run. And probably the factor is, number one, his age factor. But I personally believe it is more like his appearance. because he appears to be a statesman, which he is, to me at least, and also a person who will not actually come to bite you like the former president. So tonight's State of the Union speech, let us see what he says. But there is one thing for sure, that during the last 2 years, what he has achieved is amazing. In January, there were more than 517,000 jobs added in January this year. And the jobless rate is down to 3.9%, which is the lowest since 1969. So in other words, what it shows that some of the bills which was passed, enacted, and made laws like infrastructure and some other bills which were passed by under his stewardship as a president, they are actually trickling down now to the people. For example, he was in Kentucky with Mitch McConnell, the majority Senate minority leader. Even though Mitch McConnell happens to be a GOP person, but President Biden and Mitch McConnell, both of them, they worked on the infrastructure bill. Mitch McConnell voted for it. He made a couple of his senators vote for it to become a law. And in the House, on the contrary, 0 Republican voted for it. And they are all claiming and patting themselves on the back that we got this funding for you when they go out asking for the votes. It's just like Jim Jordan saying, oh, Joe Biden didn't win the election, but the money coming from the bill which Joe Biden actually was able to push through the Senate and the House, pass it, become the law, that money being spent in his congressional district, oh, that's most welcome because it's green. Like I said before, Jim Jordan won on the same ballot on which Joe Biden as well as Donald Trump were the presidential candidate on the top. He got voted on the same ballot. But because Joe Biden won, the election is stolen. If election was stolen, then how come you are sitting there today as a chairman in one of the most powerful committee, the Judicial Committee in the House? So that is the politics which I personally don't like. But then again, we got to live with it. One of the reasons is because most of the people, they complain about it, but they don't do anything. I try to do whatever I can on my part. And hey, maybe, it's what I feel like should be done. I try to do that. And I just move on from there. And that also brings me to the point where I want to share this with you, that 118th Street in Richmond Hill from 101 Avenue on toward 95th Avenue, where the Sikh Culture Society is located, has been co-named as Guru Nanak Way. I know it took me efforts, it took me time, talking to the people, getting the, passed in the community board, 9 unanimously. I know when originally it came up, there were some people who were not in favor of it, but then I made a couple of calls and I got, like they say, the ducks in a row. It passed unanimously in CB9, and on this Thursday, it passed actually in New York City Council. There are people out there who are trying to take the credit, or they will not admit that, okay, Harpreet played any role into it. That's fine with me, because for me, it shows their intellect. It does not affect me, because I will still do what needs to be done for the community. And that's why I'm here doing the show, trying to make sense out of a lot of things which to me, they do, unless we look out and look fairly, we will not reach at certain levels. So going back to that 2024 election, Interestingly, what is going to happen is that Koch brothers, they have their organization, which actually they are planning to, I'm just trying to get the name of that organization here. I have it somewhere, I will give it to you. They are going to actually get involved in primaries. They never got involved in primaries. They spent $500 million in 2022 elections supporting the Republicans. That's a hell of a money by one businessman, a company. And that company, which actually became what they are based on the laws and rules and regulations passed by the Republicans to benefit the big fishes. And they wanted same way to continue like that. And they have decided to get involved in primaries. It's you know, benefit of doubt. Benefit of doubt is something, I'm reading it from Webster's definition, state of accepting something or someone as honest or deserving of trust even though there are doubts. So Koch brothers are using that to seed that doubts on the people who they want to defeat, and they use their organization for that purpose day and night, because they just don't want that happening. Turning the Page, that's the name of their organization, and they have volunteers. Like they say, they get paid very small amounts, and they go door to door talking to the people, telling them, discussing with them the issues which they make those people think that those issues are important issues. So benefit or doubt also comes into play when it comes down to the presidency of, I'm talking about here two different Democrat presidents. I'm talking about Barack Obama and Joe Biden. We had Donald Trump in the middle. Barack Obama, because his dad was African American, and he was African American, the white majority, especially the right-wing whites, they always doubted him, always. Whereas with the Joe Biden, because he happens to be white, it's not the same way. Yes, there are things like confidential files which were found at his house and at his vacation home and some other locations. People are not happy with it. But just imagine kind of uproar it could have brought had it been the President Barack Obama. Just imagine what it could have been had the January 6th attack on Capitol Hill, had those people been from minority, except whites, any other minority, African Americans, Spanish, Asians. Just imagine. Those people, they would have been dead in not one or two, but in numbers. I can tell you that. So that's where we have to be very careful when these things happen. These are the issues which need to be looked at, that how come, why. It's very important. And that is why when it comes down to benefit of doubt should be weighed against the facts all the time. And I know I will be going for a break in very soon. I want to share another thing with you. India just added another aircraft carrier in the Indo-Pacific, Vikramaditya. It has been undergoing some repairs and upgrade, and it is ready, and it has been tested, and it is ready to go back into the sea. So let us take a break, and after the break, I will be right back. Welcome back to Mainstream with Harpreet Singh Toor again. Let's talk about the balloons. Yes, balloon. The Chinese balloon which was shot down over the Atlantic. Interestingly, they found out on Wednesday that this balloon is circling up Montana, where the United States has the maximum number of silos with nuclear weapons on the tip of those missiles, which are actually ready to be fired at any moment, any second, at the instance of the President of the United States. And I think that is one of the reasons that the former President Donald Trump, he could not accept his defeat, because he always felt that egoistic. His ego is so big that he actually had that notion in his mind that I carry this briefcase which carries the red button to destroy the world. Okay. So this Chinese balloon, it was there the day it was detected. Within a couple of hours, I'm pretty sure the US Army decided, the Air Force decided to jam any information going out from there, and they decided to shoot it down when it was on the ocean. Now there are people who are saying, oh, you could have shot it down before. Newt Gingrich, the former Speaker of the House, he is saying that Air Force has this capability of scooping it with the machine. He's talking about what you see in the movies. And actually, one of the person who retired from the US Air Force, who was a pilot, he actually made a statement on the floor of the House that Newt Gingrich have no idea what he's talking about, because he never served in any of those branches of the armed forces, either Army, Navy, or Air Force. But he's just saying, and Newt Gingrich is known to make up the things. And I still remember when I met him at Fox Studio, he introduced himself to me, and I mentioned back to him immediately when we shook the hands. I said, yes, Mr. Speaker, I know who you are, and I also know more than what you think I know about you. Yeah, should I have said it? I don't know. But does it make a difference? Nope. But does it make me feel that I told him what I wanted to tell him? Yes, because sometimes you have to let the person know that that person should not assume that you are just, somebody who doesn't know and they can make a fool out of you. Yes, it's not that I don't know a lot of things, but at the same time, if I know the things, I do state the facts, or try to state the fact. So that balloon, actually, there are already tensions between China and the United States, and we should not forget one thing. All the chips, the precious metals, like they call it, which go into the modern infrastructure, the chips, it is from China. 90% plus comes from China. United States used to have the output, but way back they shut it down because of it was expensive. But now, during the last 2 years, the bills were passed where there is a new investment into manufacturing the chips in the United States, and also reopening those mines where this precious metals can be actually created and supplied to these chip makers. And Europeans were not happy when the government gave permission and of course some subsidies to all these big companies, tech companies, to establish their plants right here in the United States, because that is actually it directly goes into conflict with the what do we call free trade agreements. So that is, having said that, going back to 2024 election, Liz Cheney is another one who actually is right now planning. So we have from GOP side, Republican side, we already have Trump. Nikki Haley is announcing next week. Then we will have Ron DeSantis soon. We will have probably Liz Cheney also. And John Sununu from New Hampshire, he hasn't ruled out that he will not run. So he is planning to run. And then Liz Cheney, some people they are saying that she may run as a Democrat, but I doubt it, because she has the history with her dad, who was the vice president with George W. Bush. And he was also the force behind the attack on Iraq before Afghanistan. So we will see how and when, what happens, but yes, she is going to be another candidate. And I personally, I think she did a great job for the nation, for being what she did in the long term, to show that what it takes to be a leader. You can follow somebody, you can do whatever you want, but only very few people show the leadership at the time of crisis, when somebody takes the stand and you actually go against the flow, which is the hardest part to do, and that's what she did. And also, going back to the balloons, during the President Trump's tenure, balloons were there, they were not even detected. And when the Air Force said that, the former President Donald Trump refused to accept it, but a Republican Senator Cornyn, he said he believes the Air Force, which means basically the US Air Force is telling the facts, and I don't believe the former President Donald Trump. So in other words, Donald Trump may end up becoming a presidential candidate for Republicans again. Let's not rule him out, because he is good at it. He is good when he goes on the screen, and when he's in front of the cameras, he is a totally different person, and he can definitely kill the future of some of the candidates. But at the same time, is there a chance that he may not even become a candidate? With the Koch brothers investment, where they have already mentioned that they will get involved in primaries, it may happen. So let us keep our fingers crossed on that part. And also at the same time, we should also look at tonight's speech. It starts at 9 p.m. and I want our people to listen, because it's very important. It's a lesson in what happens and how the things work in this country, and we will gain something out of it. Question is not whether you are a Democrat or a Republican. The question is, you should be watching it along with Sanders Huckabee's rebuttal to what the President Joe Biden has to say. And there is one thing which I will share with you, for those who do not know or who may not know this. What President Joe Biden is going to speak that speech is already with Republicans. And whatever Sanders Huckabee is going to speak is already with the Democrats. They share what they are going to speak. That's a respect they give to each other, irrespective of their differences out in the public. And yes, there are times when they do work together. So there are a few things which I think I should be mentioning again before I wrap up today's show. And that is, always check the facts. It's very important. Very, very important, because we are actually heading into 2024 election. And also on the Ukraine war, there is one thing which I think I should also share with you. China definitely is looking at what is happening in Ukraine. The reason is because China actually have the target of occupying or integrating Taiwan into the mainland China, like they call over there to the China. And if Russia succeeds in Ukraine, China will definitely go for Taiwan. But in case Russia does not succeed in Ukraine, then the policy on the Chinese side will definitely change towards how they look at Taiwan, at least in the short run, if not on the long run. The reason is because these are the geopolitical issues which we need to understand. Same way why all of a sudden there are so many American companies, they are going to India. The reason is basically because in India, America is trying to make India stand up like they did China against Russia. We should not forget that. Yes, our Prime Minister Modi is trying to take full advantage of that. How much he may succeed, I don't know. But we will see. Go home, or if you are home, watch tonight's speech from the President. With that note, good night and good luck.